All right, so we are live. This is our personal development mastermind, and we're going over the Inner Voice book by Russ Whitney that I have here. If you don't have your copy, that's okay because I am going to be reading from the book and we're going to be discussing it when we are done. So, last week, I believe we read on chapter 1 and went over athlete, warrior, space person, and spirit, and discussed the different types of levels that we go through as far as the different phases actually that we go through in life and how we move through the next one and stuff like that. So I'll just continue where I left off. In my younger warrior years, I thought I was always in charge, and if I felt unsure, I never let it show. I was always ready to face adversity head on, whether I knew what I was doing or not. But I was operating on the training I'd received from other people, people who were themselves probably also in their warrior phase, and I didn't know any other way to function. As a result of that arrogance, or more accurately, ignorance, I chased more failures than I cared to count. If we are to progress from warrior to statesperson, we need to learn how to operate in statesperson mode. One of the best ways to do that is to surround ourselves with people who are already there. My life is a classic example of why that can be challenging. I was born into a middle-income blue-collar family. My father left my mother when I was a small child. He remarried, and the woman he chose as his partner to help him raise his kids turned out to be worse than the stereotypical step monster. I endured years of unspeakable abuse that only ended when I ran away at the age of 14 after my father's death. I spent the following years on my own without much adult supervision or guidance. I did a lot of things right, but I made some mistakes. My most serious mistake landed me in prison while I was still a teenager. What I did isn't important. What matters is that, although I didn't realize it at the time, it was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me. At the age of 20, I was released from the New York State Department of Corrections and sent to Albany with $200 and a state-issued suit. I'd never been to Albany, but there I was with no friends or family, on my own after having been incarcerated for almost 3 years. It was a chance to start over with a clean slate, and I took it. Despite having dropped out of high school, I'd earned my GED in prison and was able to get a factory job at a slaughterhouse. My duties included cleaning up the floor and working on a production line where about 1,400 hot dogs were butchered and sorry, where about 1,400 hogs a day were butchered and packaged for grocery stores. It was a nasty, dirty work and a big break for me. It was a union job that paid decent wages, a starting rate of about $5 an hour at the time, with benefits, security, and opportunities for advancement. I saw it as the vehicle that would let me keep the promise I had made to myself while in prison, to build a decent, law-abiding, middle-class life, to own a home, to get married and have a family, and to love, nurture, and care for my wife and children. Within a few weeks of starting that job, I met a young lady who also worked there, and 3 months later we were married. 3 months after that, she got pregnant with our daughter. We were happy, young, healthy, in love, and living the only version of the American dream either of us knew. But even as it seemed as if but even as it seemed as if things were at as close to perfect as we could ever expect, I kept hearing a nagging voice in the back of my mind telling me, "You can do something better with your life. You can do something better with your life." The challenge was that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what better was. All I had heard growing up was that if I got a job, was dependable, took care of my family, paid my bills on time, and didn't try anything too risky, life would be good. And it was all I, as a young husband and father, heard from the people in my life at the time, including my father-in-law, whom I respected and admired. My role models were limited, and if there was a statesperson in the crowd, I didn't realize it. But the voice wouldn't be quiet. Even though I didn't know where the voice was coming from or exactly what it wanted me to do, rather than ignore it, I listened to it. When someone gave me a magazine about business opportunities, I leafed through it and noticed all those enticing advertisements in the back. I began exploring the get rich opportunities. Most of them didn't appeal to me, but I finally found one that did. It was a $10 book on real estate investing, and everything it said made complete sense to me. Even better, the strategies worked. Within 2 years, I was making enough money from my real estate investments to quit my job at the slaughterhouse. 4 years after that, I achieved millionaire status. Yet the voice was still telling me I could do better. So I shared the story of how I accomplished such remarkable success in my first book, Overcoming the Hurdles and Pitfalls of Real Estate Investing, and then later in my second book, Building Wealth. I started a number of businesses, including a financial training organization, and wrote more books. I realized that I had a passion for teaching, for helping people learn how to improve their lives. I was doing statesperson work, but I was still solidly in warrior mode. So I just want to stop there for a minute and reflect on what he's talking about, because a lot of people go through this. We're constantly going through life and then realizing in the back of our heads that we have something better to give the world. There's something more that we can be doing. There's more to life than what we're living. But not many people take advantage of that, which is, I think, the part that a lot of people end up going to their grave with. If if we think about how a lot of the population lives. So it's really important to, I think, for me, it has been important to remember, like, there's more to life to give than just what I'm doing right now for myself. There's a bigger purpose for my life, for the people's lives that I'm touching, for the people that surround me. So anyways, I just thought that was important to stick out. And the inner voice whisper that ends with here says, don't live in fear. Live in faith and gratitude. Fill your heart with love and thankfulness for all that you know. All that you now have is that there is no space left for fear. Yeah, I thought I read that wrong, but okay. Moving on. The story of my rise and fall. My warrior self continued to charge forward. I'll be sharing more about my business adventures and misadventures as we go along. For now, it's enough to say that while not all of the dozens of businesses I either started or purchased worked, I appear to be a classic, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Horatio Alger success story. And correct me if I'm wrong in saying anything, okay, guys? I was a multimillionaire leading what looked like a charmed life. One of my most visible business achievements was building a global training company that was a leader in innovative adult financial education. I was living full-time in warrior mode, never giving myself much of a break. I lived that way for more than 12 years, and today I realized that it was inevitable that I would crash and burn. My marriage crumbled, and I was very publicly forced out of the company I had founded and built. But even worse was that for a while, my children were ashamed of what they saw as my failure. I clearly remember something one of them said that crushed me. Dad, you have always been able to fix everything. Why can't you fix this? We both cried, but at the time I was at a total loss about what to do. I didn't know how to fix this. The fear, helplessness, and pain were the worst I'd ever felt, close to as bad as I had felt from the abuse I'd suffered as a child, worse than what I'd suffered in prison. I'd become a recluse. I was self-medicating and drinking too much alcohol. My friends were understandably worried about me, but I blew them off. Finally, I got a call that I listened to. The caller was a friend who happened to be a high-profile attorney who handled legal affairs for me and my family. He said that in all the years he'd known me, I had never missed meetings or just not shown up to functions where I'd committed to be. I didn't want to hear it. I was starting to tune him out when he said, "Russ, I had a dream last night, and you were in it. I dreamed you, some of our friends, and I were all having a good time. We ended up back at your house where we fell asleep, and one of us didn't wake up." The line went silent. Finally, I said, "The person who didn't wake up, was that me?" He quietly answered, "Yes." He paused for another moment and then continued, "Russ, considering all you've been through, I think you need some help. You've been doing things for others your whole life. You need to take care of yourself now." There was another long moment of silence before I promised to think about it. After we got off the phone, I talked to another friend, a doctor, and told him about the call. He said he thought I might have some serious medical issues, and he recommended that I see some specialists. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that message, but I'd rejected it every other time it was suggested. After all, I'm Russ Whitney. I had it all: wealth, success, a beautiful family, material possessions. But this time was different. Did I suddenly realize that my friends were right? Was this an unconscious contact with my inner voice? I don't know. I just know that I finally accepted that I needed help, but I didn't know where to start. My friends got together and researched facilities that could help me, agreed on a unique place in Hawaii they called a mental, physical, and spiritual rehab, and made the necessary arrangements for me to go there. Just 2 days later, I was on a plane heading to Hawaii. Before I left, I was making jokes about it. My attitude changed once I was on the plane. The flight itself was one of the most emotionally difficult experiences of my life. Little did I know that when the plane touched down on that island paradise out in the Pacific Ocean, I would embark on a 5-year journey that would change my life forever. And now I'm hoping it will also change yours. How long have I been reading now? I think 15, 20 minutes. Um, I think we can, do you want me to read a few more pages?
It's up to you.
That's probably a good place to stop.
Okay, I was thinking so too. I'll just read the final inner voice whisper that is on the previous page that I missed. He says, "Every battle has at least one loser, but not every battle has a winner. When the fighting won't stop, everybody loses." That's interesting. Every battle has at least one loser, but not every battle has a winner. Okay, so I mean, it's pretty incredible to see what kind of the reason I like this book so much is because you get to go on the journey with him. He's expressing everything that he's going through, and you don't always get to see that in books like this that are kind of the self-help kind of books. They're always just telling you, well, this is what's going on, this is what's wrong, and this is what you need to fix. So I really like how he puts his own story and his journey into this, and you're learning as you hear what he's going through, as you read what he's going through. um was there anything that stood out to anyone that you wanted to share?
Yeah, because I found quite strange. Once he really went to a step higher than he was before. Actually, he went quite high because I mean, coming from prison and then try to uh, get back to society
Mm-hmm.
is difficult passage, difficult transition.
Right.
But for him, it was quite easy. But then the trouble starts for him again,
Mm-hmm.
as if there's something that he, he didn't consider before. So he needs to go back and start to square one
Right.
and think about, reflect on his journey so far. Why success and then failure all of a sudden? What's the reason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. And Paul and I were talking about this the other night. Just how in life, there's so many ways to go up and down. But in adulthood, it's like everything that you went through in childhood, now you have to fix. So it like seeing like all the struggles that he had to go through, he has so many mental um you know, negative thoughts, I guess you can say, in his subconscious that are now starting to, come out in his
Surface, yeah.
adulthood. And yeah, they're starting to surface, exactly. So it's like everything you go through in your childhood, it now has to be adjusted and fixed
Dealt
as you
with.
go through the rest of your adulthood life. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually put a post up today on Facebook. I read it in this book. Can't think of the name of it right now, but it's based on science. And basically, it said that any toxic thought that you have in your she called it non-conscious mind. We say unconscious or subconscious, but I guess more scientifically put, it's non-conscious. Uh, Basically, any toxic thought you have, if it comes into your consciousness, if you have something that in your childhood, something bad happened and you've been hanging on to that, you've had that thought this whole time, and it comes into your consciousness, then basically it turns everything toxic. So whatever you're thinking, it's going to be toxic, right? So it's just so important to be aware of what we're doing, the messages we're getting, that kind of thing. And that really like made me stop and think, like, wow, just one toxic thought in our non-conscious mind, which processes, I think it's like 4 billion bits of 4 billion actions like per second or something like that. I don't even know what the number is compared to our conscious, which is like 200 million or thousand, or I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's a crazy difference.
Yeah.
Like our unconscious processes so much compared to our conscious. So all this is going on in our non-conscious mind. It's just one thing comes out into our consciousness and it's toxic. The other thing that I really related to was when he was saying, I'm meant for more.
Yeah.
I'm meant for more. As I heard myself saying that back when I was teaching physical education to elementary school students and teachers, and literally I felt like I was just watching Recess. And I was like, I didn't get into this to just, beat this into people and tell them they need to be doing this. I got into it to make a difference and have significance. And I never ever felt that way. And I remember this very clearly, saying, I'm meant for more. I don't know what it is, but I know I'm meant to do bigger things. I know I'm meant to inspire more people than what I'm doing in my teaching profession. And not to discount teaching, because teachers influence people all the time. That's a big draw to that profession. But for me, I just felt like I was meant to do bigger things. I wasn't meant to just be a teacher and I don't mean any disrespect, but I felt like I was meant to do bigger things. And I feel like I'm kind of in a place now where I am able to do bigger things than I could if I was in a public school system. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I relate it with that. And so many people are in jobs that are not fulfilling to them. They don't provide significance. Maybe they don't even provide financial stability, financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're doing both. Maybe they're like going to a job because they feel it's secure, which is a myth. There's no security. If you're secure, you're not. But I think that's something that really stood out to me, because I see it every single day. People doing things they don't want to be doing. It brings them no significance. It's just a paycheck, and it's barely that. It barely covers their bills. I just feel that there's more to life than just that, and we're meant to have significance. We're meant to encourage and inspire and to uplift, motivate other people,
Right.
and that's what stood out to me. And then of course the ups and the downs. So I know Danny Johnson experienced the same thing. If you're familiar with Danny Johnson, she she started off really bad, had a terrible childhood, and then she came into she started becoming successful. She started doing the things that become successful. She got all caught up in the money. She got caught up in it, bought a mansion, fast cars, all this stuff, what people do, and it came crashing down. And she realized one thing: I don't need all this stuff. This stuff doesn't matter. It's about helping other people and simplifying things. You don't need to have the big mansion. You don't need to have the big cars, the fast cars, the luxury cars, all this stuff. So I'm not saying that it's bad to have that, but there's more to it than that. And I think that's kind of what Russ Whitney was going through, right? Like he was on the top,
right,
and then it came crashing down basically overnight. And because he hadn't really faced what was going on inside from his earlier years, he didn't know how to deal with that. And so I think that's where the story's going, and that's what I've gotten out of it so far.
awesome. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. There's the story of Danny Johnson, like you were saying. She found herself like successful, and then stuff started happening where things started falling apart. And I remember hearing an audio that she was talking about this, and she's saying, there has to be more to life. Like maybe for other people, wiping baby butts and making pies for people and making everyone, happy in her family is good enough. But for her, she felt like there was more to life than just making everyone fat around her. There was more to life than just, raising kids and cleaning house. So she took that, and I mean she's created an enormous amount of impact around the world, which is incredible to me. Just thinking about like where she's come. Like she was homeless, had nothing but like $2 I think in her bank account, and created this amazing, way to reach thousands of people, which anyways, but I I think the best, or the most, the thing that stood out to me the most in this is, like Paul was saying, there's where he's saying there's more to life. Like I see that every day when I'm talking to people. There's people who, you know, all they focus on is what they have to do like at this moment, and that's fine. But I know that I'm not the only one who feels like my purpose is to give more to the people that I'm around, to give more to the people that I'm touching, the people that I'm reaching out to. Um, and I really think that, if more of us, if more people realize that the reason that they hear this is because they really are meant for more. The reason this thought is in the back of their head is because it's been implanted in them, since before they were born. They've been woven this thought because they're meant for more. And I really do believe like making a difference, even if it's just a small way, can have a ripple effect, to reach even more people. So like, Lino, you being on these hangouts, maybe it's just, Paul and I reaching out to you, but the ripple effect from that reaches a lot more. So I may
Sure,
just be
sure,
touching one
agree.
person, but that one person can go out and touch three more, and that just multiplies. So it's not just about the people here on the hangout, it's about reaching out and touching other people, in a bigger way. So
Yeah, not just physically. I mean, it's something that can happen holographically,
right,
because
exactly.
I mean, you create a positive wave that is coming from a spiritual side of life.
Right.
So we don't need to read or hear with your senses. We need to feel it because it's there. I mean, it's real. I
Right.
mean, we create positivity, and you create positivity. You share with other people, and it's there. I mean, you won't get lost.
Right. Well, I am gonna say like I think that we can go ahead and close from here. If nobody else has nothing else to add, I think we can.
I had one more thing that I took from that.
Sure.
And he had mentioned he went 12 years in warrior mode.
Yeah.
12 years in warrior mode, working whatever hours he was working, and it affected everything. It affected his family life. Like I believe he lost his wife, right? Like
Yeah.
divorced, and he lost his business. So that's I think that's a lesson. I think that's a lesson. And I'm gonna wait a minute.
Okay. Leaving alone to fix his light.
I'm just as light. Sorry about that.
No problem. But I think that's a lesson, and I know that's something I need to take to heart, because I'm the type of person that will go from 5 in the morning till 1 at night. I did that for a long time, and I think it's important because you need time to refresh. You need time to really take in the week. If all you're doing is being in work mode, you're actually less productive because your thoughts aren't right. Maybe you're getting stressed out. Maybe you're getting angry, frustrated. You're just not in tune. You're neglecting your family. You're neglecting your health if you're not doing anything. And I think that's a real important point, and it's something that I'm definitely taking into account and really setting forth to practice. Because recently I just decided, my weekends, I'm just going to take off. Usually, before I was doing blog posts, and I was doing work, and I think we need at least one day to rest. We need at least maybe 2 days,
Yeah.
And for me, like, yes, I'm on the computer now, but this is good, because this is masterminding with like minds, and by doing so, it makes us better.
Right.
And because we bounce ideas off one another, and we're going to get better in the process, because we're all like-minded. We all want to improve. We all want to get to better, and we all have a different take on what was just read,
Right.
and different. We view it differently. So by bringing those different views into it, it just makes us better collectively, and that's what I really enjoy doing this. I'm really happy we started doing this, and
Me too.
it's just it's a very positive thing. It's a great way to start the day or end the day or whatever it is. But the more people with like minds that you communicate with, the more empowered you're going to become. The better you're going to be. The more people you're going to influence, because you're going to be fired up with all these ideas. And that's why these top earners do masterminds. They have mastermind groups, because this moves you. It doesn't have to be the same industry. It could be a different industry, but if you're all like-minded and you all have the same kind of goals and the same, it moves you forward. So that's just what I wanted to say with that. But I think this stuff's very powerful. It's really, really powerful, and the people watching, hop on this Saturdays, 11 a.m.
Yep.
and just be a part of it, because I really feel it's going to change you for the better.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. We can wrap it up.
Awesome. Then I would just wish you guys a great week.
Thank you.
Happy rest of your Saturday, or whatever day it is.
Thanks.
I don't know what it is anymore.
Same day.
Okay.
Over. Just a few hours in front.
Just at night. Okay.
Yeah, it's 7. It's almost 20 to 8. Let's say.
Okay.
And I'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time
2
for
p.m., yeah. Okay.
other masterminds too, some marketing strategies, things like that. Get your questions answered.
Yep.
Come on by. Same idea. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Saturdays is just the book reading and personal
That's
development.
fine.
So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Awesome.
Great.
Well, you guys have
Thank
a great
you.
week, and I'll see you next Saturday.
Thanks, Lino.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you.
All right, you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Paul. Goodbye.
All
Goodbye.
right.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice night.
And you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.